All right, we are live.
We are live.
We're recording. Welcome to the Millennial Experience podcast. Today we are joined by extra special guests. This is I almost called you Hollis. I can't not call you Hollis.
We can't not call you Hollis.
Josh Hollis and Cory. I don't know how to say your last name.
Riecken.
Riecken.
Okay, Riecken.
I was gonna say Riecken.
I was gonna say Riecken.
Yeah, that's pretty racist.
Okay.
Makes me sound pretty Hitlery, and I'm not like that Hitlery.
So nice that
On a scale of 1 to Hitlery,
Oh, Jesus.
it's like only like a 3, very low.
Actually, do we have
is
time
great.
for this?
That is
He has a story as to why it's so weird.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, we just brought it up, so can we though?
It's not. It's less entertaining than you
More
want it
after
to
this
be.
commercial break. Sorry.
It's not that entertaining of a story. I feel like you can come up with something better because all it is that my name sounds really racist the longer you go back in my ancestry. And we just changed it a bunch of times until it's spelled to the point that no one knows how to pronounce it correctly.
Genius. That's genius.
Yeah.
No,
It's dumb.
So what did you want to talk about today, Eddie?
Oh, I totally forgot. And I was actually just thinking about it just now.
It's a good start.
I can really only think about the Superman vs. Goku right now, but I don't know if we want to get into that.
Again.
No.
Constantly.
What hasn't already been addressed in other YouTube videos is from
That's
people
true.
far smarter
That's
than us,
true,
I
man.
will admit.
That's
I'm
great.
telling you,
Okay,
if
so
they...
in the realm of Superman versus Goku, how do you rearrange that to be a way that has not been looked at before? So Superman versus Goku being just two extreme forces. What are some of the more extreme forces that might come from the underworld of pop culture that would not normally be discussed in the same way that Superman v Goku is?
What are you talking about? The smartest people have already addressed this argument.
No,
They've
just
done
come
a
up with
video on
something
it.
else.
They've had numbers to include with it. They had references. We're just a bunch of dummies just going, well, I think this would happen because I watched this one episode. And because of that, that's why I feel this way.
We have the internet. We can do some science.
The science has been done.
We can do some science.
It's already over.
What about... we could talk about like a concept from a Course Cassette video. Those are always good rabbit holes.
Yeah, those ones actually.
What's
do
your
have
favorite?
that.
Like, what do you think is the most interesting?
Out of all those videos,
What about the Fermi Paradox?
yeah, the one where we have to reach certain limits before we're like interplanetary. Like we have to survive climate change.
We'll simplify it. It's not that complex.
No, I was going to say a hard timeout because you're just already throwing in a video that I didn't watch.
So
I
there,
didn't know we had homework.
there's a
before this.
there's a paradox.
This is what I meant when I was like, are there things we need to study? Hollis is just like, yeah, we can go into this. And I'm like,
Yeah, we
are there
can.
things we need to go into?
Then we
Right from the
can.
get-go,
We
he's
can.
like, there's this Fermi... I'm like,
Our
we can
conversation we had no
apparently there was
preparation
homework,
to it.
but he was just like, no, you got this. No need to study.
No, it's very simple. I mean, it's not simple, but it's easily explainable. The Fermi Paradox. It's like this scientist named something Fermi.
Sorry.
He was like trying to discover, whether or not there is intelligent life in the universe outside of Earth. And if the world if the universe is 13.8 billion years old, by now, statistically, if
We
there
should have
was
seen-
other life in the universe, they should have either visited us by now, or we would be able to see them somewhere, or because of how much time has passed and the eternal, the vastness of the universe, the advancements in whatever technology could have arisen over, if there was a species that became intelligent, let's say even 3 billion years ago, how many scientific advancements they could have made in those 3 billion years that would allow them to explore the entire universe in seconds. The fact that we haven't seen them right now is kind of like a paradox. Like, why haven't we seen any other intelligent life yet?
That's an answer in itself. You know, you realize 1970s, 1980s, we were supposed to be flying cars right now, according to movies. Should've is a strong word. And
Jetsons.
you think should've would mean that, hey, that means by now, by our logic, this should have been done because we thought about it.
Okay, so there's actually, I think, a really reasonable explanation for why we may not have run into any kind of intelligent life in a way that we could detect so far. Like, it's entirely possible that we have had some connection with intelligent life outside of our world without knowing it, but still, I think the... lost my entire train of thought. Oh, no. I had
While
such
you're
a great...
thinking about it, hold on, you get back to it, okay, baby girl? The fact is that we have seen intelligent life according to our military. Military has actually admitted that.
That wasn't extraterrestrial, though. That was just a UFO. All that means is it was an unidentified flying object that does some shit that we don't understand. That doesn't mean it came from fucking Alpha Centauri. It could be the Chinese or the Russians, or it could be one of our own secret military programs that pilot didn't know about. Who knows?
And we can go back and forth about what could be and what should be. But the fact is that the intention as to why you would want to just explore the universe is up to anyone's guess. Okay, so think about this. We want to know more about gorillas. But gorillas are still dangerous, yeah? They can still hurt us. So as much as we want to know about gorillas and want to see them in their natural habitat without us knowing that they can acknowledge we're around, how do you do that with what you're given? And that's the thing. You don't want to get hurt. You don't know what they're going to do when they see you by accident or on purpose, whichever you decide. But your intentions are going to be why you worked so hard to make it possible. Now think about that as an aliens, because honestly, that's what they've talked about. They talked about the difference of intelligence that we've had. Neil deGrasse Tyson had talked about the difference between the smartest monkey, the smartest gorilla, and like a third grade human. And it would being just pretty much like a 1% difference as to really the difference of our DNA. So they said, what if that was the same case? What if the next alien, Alien X, has 1% more than we did? And think about the fact that the smartest monkey that they had to offer is at the same intelligence of a 3-year-old or 3-year-old.
But you can't.
Also,
you wouldn't be able to use a pre-existing alien civilization as the difference, because they wouldn't have come from the same line to say that there's that DNA difference there as well. And also, humans. I mean, we took risks like moving from the New World to the Old World, and people died trying to settle. I don't think that risk is something that would limit us from becoming interplanetary.
So, hold on. There's one thing just coming from a scientific background on this. When you're talking about life developing on another planet, statistically speaking, it is most likely that there would be life on other planets. But of the observed planets, we only have ours. So the only way that we can judge how life develops in terms of how long the universe has lived is based on our entire, all we have is based on us. So any model that you try to make that would theoretically be more suitable to life, there's only one example that you have that's concrete.
Yeah. That's just carbon-based life in this type of environment.
Yeah,
this close to a star.
And so what we define as life and what we're thinking about as life and what we can prove is just here.
What is the definition of life? I know biological life, are they two different things or are they the same? Because would a silicone-based life form on some gas giant planet that we can't even comprehend as life, but it's some kind of sentient being of some sort that's just not anything like us?
I think
what
once
would make it life opposed to
I think once it understands I and thou, I think that you have life.
I exist, therefore I am. Then it's life. No.
So
I and thou is me and you.
But a cockroach doesn't understand that, does it?
Yeah, not because of consciousness, but
because a cockroach keeps itself away from harm and away from predators, so it knows it's itself, and that there's an environment around it that it's not
Does a
itself.
tree know that it has an environment around it? I don't. But it's still life. It's not conscious of itself, but it exists. It's still life.
Yeah.
So I don't think consciousness or sentience have anything to do with whether or not something is life.
Yeah, but
It just matters
are you
if it
saying something is
contains-
life as in that thing is alive, as in it's what? It's there's functions inside of it that happen.
Well,
Simply
it's
like the definition of
biological life.
Whether it's
Like
multicellular or even
like a-
Right,
a
just
weed-
multicellular life.
A weed is life. A human is
Right.
life. A
Okay.
cockroach is life.
So
well, it has a cycle.
A virus is life,
Right.
technically.
Well, life
Right,
and
okay,
death.
so what
it's
was-
not
what was the
live or dead.
question
It's
here?
like a molecule.
We've established
Okay, a germ is
that,
life.
that
Yeah,
many
germ
of
is
these things
life.
are life. Are we trying to answer on a larger scale? What defines something as being alive? Most, again, going back to like how we would define it if we couldn't define it otherwise. All we have is what we can base our own observations on that we've seen in our in the Earth atmosphere. Like what could be happening in another solar system or anything like that is entirely beyond our comprehension, I think.
Mhm.
But
It makes me wonder if life can exist based on a
but like
replicating
all life
molecule
is just the continuous
replication.
replication of
Yeah.
cells, like maintaining the same
So does that
general
mean
organism
does that mean that we
for a certain amount of time, and once that organism ceases to
right?
What if there was something?
around.
What if there was another type of chemical, like similar to DNA but not DNA, that developed in a different environment, like let's say in the heart of Jupiter or
it's
something?
it's not impossible.
Like
I mean,
we wouldn't recognize it as life because we understand things that have life all have DNA in our experience.
So
But
that's-
maybe there's some
So,
other
like, when you
chemical
start
that
talking about all
reproduces
this-
and copies.
if you start talking about extraterrestrial life, it turns the entire field of biology on its head.
yeah,
'Cause
because
all we
don't
know is
what we
here.
like.
Yeah, everything is based on life that is developed on this planet for millions of years.
Can you simplify though the question to say that is it reasonable to say that all life would have to be based on a self-replicating molecule from the beginning?
I don't know.
That's not a question for me.
I guess we would have to see what the dictionary
Probably
definition
first.
of life is first.
No,
and
I
then-
mean just because otherwise, because you're right. Since we only have the biological example here on Earth, but because chemistry works more or less the same based on the circumstances of the environment, then if you could have a self-replicating molecule that is not exactly like DNA, but it does self-replicate, and then you do get a diversity of life thereafter on the planet.
This might give us a good baseline. So the first definition. Sorry, let me close the window.
Oh, I was like,
We
someone
got
set
a
a car in the
window
room.
open. This is the part that will be edited out.
The dictionary
Absolutely
definition of life is the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death.
This conversation is brought to you part by Google.
So reproduction has a big part in it. Growth and continual change, and it's what distinguishes inorganic matter from,
It's
just
pretty-
regular matter.
So it's pretty much just determining
To
what
organic
makes
matter.
us
Organic matter.
different from an object.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like a rock, it's not doing anything. It's not growing, changing, evolving, and then dying. It's just a chunk of matter.
So
Rock's
actually,
organic matter though
that-
too.
that documentary.
No, it's not.
Not organic matter like that, but
Not organic at all.
it's not carbon based. Wait.
It's just matter. It's just
Yeah,
a chunk
it's
of
matter.
inorganic matter.
Use it to throw it at nerds. But there was a Stephen Hawking.
So
study that
organic
talked
doesn't
about
mean
that.
carbon based. You know that, right?
Oh, I thought it was carbon based.
Mm-mm.
No, organic means that it comes from an organism. So the entire basis of the field of organic chemistry is that most of the chemicals involved in organic chemistry are resultant from biological processes. So you can't usually make them in a lab setting. It wasn't until the past 40 or 50 years that you were able to make organic chemicals inside of a lab setting. And so it's called organic chemistry because all of the chemicals came from a biological process, an organism, if you will.
That makes sense. That's awesome.
According to a documentary where Stephen King had before, not Stephen King, I'm sorry.
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking, may he rest in peace in his wheelchair. He actually had the whole documentary about what he thought the existential life would look like beyond Earth. And he had said that, honestly, it comes down to your imagination. Because honestly, what we think about what an alien is may not even be able to be something your eyes can perceive from the simple look of it. They say that, for anything, it could be a gaseous entity. And you have no idea. Because all we know is what we have on our rock, as Cory had said. Mm-hmm. And he said his best guess as to technical alien life forms comes from, I believe it was a moon on Saturn. And they said because of the moon, they know that the shape of the orb sometimes shifts, which means that internally it's liquid. And they know that life on Earth kind of comes from water. Everything in life is a water-based life form. Mm-hmm. So they think, okay, well, I mean, if we're going to be as realistic as possible here and go off of what we know for sure, then what we know is that life comes from water. And if water is sitting inside the ice shell that is that moon, then there may very well be alien life forms in there. Now, it's not smart. It probably is just eat or be eaten, similar to an ocean.
Okay, so hold on. I have one really, really important question here, and that is, do they have oil?
For Stephen Hawking?
No, does this planet have oil? Does this little moon have oil?
Well,
wait,
yes or no?
No, hold on. I do got this answer, actually. Because Stephen does actually talk about this. He said, although, it may not matter whether there's oil or not, what is for sure is when we do figure it out, America is invading it to take it over. We're going to drill it.
So wait.
Space Force.
Here, time out. I got to reset the camera just real quick.
Was that 20 minutes already?
Yeah, man.
That was like 18 minutes.
Yeah, that's about 25 minutes.
We literally talked about nothing.
No, that's all good.
Okay.
It's all bueno, jalapenos.
So, Cory, why does it matter whether or not there's oil?
It was a setup for a joke about America invading.
Oh.
Did you not get it?
I thought you were implying that only water and oil together can create life.
No. It was a clear setup, and Hollis tried to avoid it, but you brought it back to me, and I want to thank you for hitting me with the rebound so I could dunk on his ass.
Will Luke get the point of the joke? We'll come back after this.
They probably won't.
Okay, so genuinely, I will be worried about aliens coming to visit us. There's only two possible reasons that's logic enough to want to be curious about us.
Okay.
Reason number one, they're just exploring the world, right? They're curious about everything. Mm-hmm. What do we have? Why are we here? Mm-hmm. Whatever. More questions and they want answers.
Why are Cory and Luke's hair so beautiful? Right. We need these kinds of answers.
And here they are with a telescope out the window. Oh, they're going to get the answer, whether they want it or not. They're going to work for it. So that's the good answer. The bad answer, there's something we have that they want. And they're going to take it, and it's going to determine whether it's going to be hard or not. And that's it. Alien invasion or just simple curiosity. And that's the only reason why you would work so hard to get it.
Yeah, but the other thing is just like the example of how how Earth life is the only example. Why are we constantly putting our habits, our habits and stuff onto alien life? Would they not be wiser if they were able to get past climate change and to get into the technology that got them into space? Would they not be wiser?
That's what the Fermi Paradox is talking about. It's like it's bringing up the things that might be preventing other life from making it off of their planets, which would be things like nuclear war, that maybe just
climate change,
ends sentient life, or maybe every single time life develops on a planet, there's a certain point in technology where there's always some kind of nuclear war that just ends all life on the planet, and that's why we've never seen any of them make it to us. Or maybe because no one can go any faster than the speed of light, just the distance between every object in the universe is too far for anyone to get anywhere far enough to actually meet any other life.
So the question is so far out there, and again, just the N of 1 really messes it up, because if you think of like any instance that could have ever happened, like me being in this room on this particular night, this is a 1 in 10 trillion chance that I would be right here, right now, and that's just one way that life could have possibly developed, and there's another 3 trillion ways that life could have happened,
Right.
that would have just completely gone by the wayside, because we don't know how that would have happened. All we have is this one observation. Things could have happened entirely differently, where like, yeah, they might have had some of like nuclear war or whatever else, but there's also, I don't know,
It's weird. It's weird because, climate change is a good example because it's happening now and we're seeing how we behave based off of it. Are we like behaving like a petri dish? Or are we behaving like we're an intelligent species on the surface who knows what's going on and can actually try to, well, I guess not prevent now, but mitigate the effects that it's going to have, which means like green energy and having just better technology that's going to be able to deal with the heat and the light. And the extra
oh no,
CO2.
we're fucked. We fucked ourselves.
So that's what I mean. It's kind of a good example because if this is an existential crisis, and it would wipe out the humans, then there you go. Like there's intelligent life for you. Luckily, we've sent out a Voyager in the 70s, 2 of them. But fuck, like
Maybe
if someone ever sees that, it's gonna be like, well, they're most likely gone because they draw like people who put carbon into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
They're sending these. They spent all these resources on launching
Like,
this
these
piece
resources,
of metal out
like,
into
yeah.
the universe.
But I'm pretty sure
rather
I'm pretty sure the Voyager, as far as like green technology goes, was as green as you could possibly be. I don't know
It
if there's
probably
any oil
cost
in there.
billions of dollars.
No, yeah, but I don't know how much oil or any of the resources you would dig out of the ground it actually is made out of, besides the metals.
Yeah.
well,
Because you can assume we
but
were
the
digging minerals out.
the
if-
environmental
based on what it's made out of.
cost of creating $1 billion.
No,
through
yeah,
all the
you're right.
various
Yeah, like it's kind of they would
enterprises.
know that there was a government involved,
Yeah.
and they know how governments are. If governments are the same way on any planet where intelligent life develops, which again, no idea because this is the only example.
Also, I mean, beyond all that, and I know we've talked about this before, like just the thought experiment of maybe this is literally the only place in the entire universe that life has happened to evolve, or abiogenesis of some kind occurred where life has started. That's also really, really cool. Like that makes us so much more special than any religion or Bible could ever.
That means that I have one of the top trillion biggest penises in the universe.
but you realize how sad that would be if that was the case? Because
What are you talking about? I just made top trillion.
You and your tiny dick, you need to calm down for a second. My point is that if let's hypothetically say that's correct, right? And if it was, you know how sad it is that we're at the break of our own extinction. We are literally going to cause our ending.
Might be the only life that's ever existed in the universe,
and it comes
we're
back
gonna
to really
end it.
as somebody like as a third party.
No,
walking
there'll
out
be
of the
new
party.
life. It just won't be us. We'll die.
Right, that's my point. So
Maybe.
I'm saying like as he's saying, human beings are maybe the only self-conscious living life forms, as well as having other existing life forms on this planet. Hypothetically, if we are the only ones in the biggest thing you can ever imagine, which is the universe, which continues to expand.
The
You know,
cosmos, which
you know how
may be bigger
sad-
than this universe.
Sad it is that we are our own ending, as well as the potential and opportunity to be what could be something greater. The problem is that the reasoning is that we will never allow ourselves to explore beyond this planet. We will be stuck here because we'll always focus our intentions and resources to really hurt ourselves. And the reasoning is never going to be good enough. But think about
That's
the
why
fact
we gotta
that-
find oil on the moon.
What I'm trying to get at is
Oil
we
on
got-
the moon.
No, you're right. As Stephen Hawking said, we need to get to that moon that was on Saturn, and we gotta see if there's oil there.
I think I would say, is there a civilization that's ever developed in the universe whose wisdom developed at least at the same time, alongside with or ahead of their technological powers, because we're sitting here fucking monkeys on a fucking nuke button.
Ooh.
Monkeys.
So if you're watching this and you're viewing this and you're an existential life form that
Extraterrestrial.
extraterrestrial, then,
You are an existential life form if
then-
you're listening to this.
then place a comment down below and let us know what you think of our primitive things.
Subscribe to my OnlyFans.
We just have like on our YouTube video, we just have like alien symbols and like beep boops.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
Who is this crackhead and why are they talking to him?
Also, is beep boop not a racist thing to say to the aliens?
I guess it's more racist against robots.
Wow,
really.
that's kind of bigot. Yeah.
Wow,
Wow, you
yeah, it
call them
is.
beep boops?
We need to all stop being these bigoted monkeys, man. Oh my gosh.
What do you think it would take, like, as far as if we were to discover other life in the universe, at what point in that life's intelligence or ability to reason would religious people go, oh, okay, maybe we were wrong about this whole being
I don't think
that's
there's
adorable.
no convincing point, because if they could reason to at that point, there's plenty already of evidence to reason out of the belief and the dogma, but there's like something way stronger in play when you have a desire for something to be true. That's just a desire for something to be true. It's not because someone led you on.
So, if you're talking about intelligent life, realistically, what winds up happening as people develop some amount of intelligence, some amount of independence, some amount of ability to think for themselves, people try to convince other people to think the same way that they do. Because now everybody seems to have some way to be able to establish their own goal. If you get a bunch of people trying to establish one goal, then
It seems like the
it's-
right cause. So.
you wind up getting way more done.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you could still convince people once you start to get to some sentient thought, and
Oh, like
it'd still be
critical
bad.
thinking afterwards, you could
Yeah,
still
they-
fall into
Yeah, you could still fuck
dogmatic.
with people.
Right.
I am convinced.
You could still have religion. It just whether or not you would call it religion in the same way that you're thinking about it in terms of a deity ruling over you.
Uh-huh.
It could literally be anything. It could be the opposite of a deity. It could be like, this isn't a thing that created you. It's just a thing that destroys you.
You are giving humans way too much credit, at least in the majority. I love your optimism to think that they would actually learn a lesson if they saw it for themselves. People have seen things for themselves and are still stuck to their ways because they're comfortable with that. It's comfort food in their mind, which
Right.
means they'll never change, even when it's without question. That
You know,
it's like
I was-
evident.
I wish they would mention on TV about climate change, about environmental refugees. I've yet to hear about those issues that are going to happen, because that's going to become our problem. Us as in the people in like the modern world who are going to take where, we're in a place where refugees would like to go. And people are not talking about that there's going to be environmental refugees. We need to start thinking about that and how we're going to deal with it.
You want to know? You don't know what humans are when it comes to dummies. Take this year for example. We have to have rules spelled out so anyone can follow it. And even then, you still see a bunch of people who can't seem to follow those rules anyway. We kept it simple: 6 feet apart, wear a mask, don't get sick, and try to stay home when possible. But even with those simple rules, you still got people who have problems with it. Why?
I understand that people can be stubborn. For example, as much as we like to say, reduce, reuse, recycle, often the bridge between our thoughts and our actions is really long. And so I think in the end, then you have to see the behavior of humans, that you may need to just develop biodegradable packaging because people just aren't getting it. And the system to recycle is just not convenient enough.
Well, let's take it the next step.
You would have to just make everything biodegradable now.
So let's talk about the fact that some of the rules in biology is universal, like evolution. Like they're getting to a point where it's like that's evidence. That's not even a theory anymore. We have
Well, evolution
evidence
is a
to-
fact.
Yeah, evolution. is
Yeah,
bad.
and except
The change in allele frequency over time is
So
it's
while-
obvious.
So while the rest of us have acknowledged it, there are still people where, despite the evidence that's there, will die thinking otherwise. Why?
even though whether or not evolution is true doesn't say anything to give evidence to whether or not a god exists or anything, but
or
it,
even
it
like,
just like because it gives some kind of explanation for the diversity of life on this planet, it's like this huge existential threat to a lot of people.
or even like the moon landing. What purpose do you get if you try to prove that we didn't land on the moon and the whole videos and stuff was a false? Like if that was the
Was
case,
a false.
What did you win? You didn't
It was
win
not
anything.
a true. It was a
It
false.
was a false, right? People did not go on the moon. But if that was the case, Buzz Aldrin, who punched somebody who genuinely didn't think he landed there,
He's just
like-
an asshole all of a sudden.
It makes you wonder if it was the Soviet Union who was the one who started
But
the
the question is why?
fake moon landing.
I mean, does moon have something that?
No,
is a no,
secret and we could never find out? Demonstrates reaching the moon. Shooting a nuke to the moon means that you can shoot a nuke anywhere on Earth. It's a way to prove
Yeah.
your nuclear power,
What I
superiority. Putting a satellite into orbit means you could put a laser battle station up there. They all had like war backgrounds
That's
for
why
their
that's
uses.
why we have Space Force actually.
It was a great show.
War in the outer space.
I didn't watch
Starting
Space
with
Force.
Steve Carell. He will run
But
Space
it-
Force.
It's hopeful
It is
to
a-
think that all the nations will somehow safely make it off the planet, not agreeing with climate change, with what's going on, and that we'll need a space force because we're going to be fighting like Russia in space now. It's like, that's fucking ridiculous.
Well, so actually, you're actually getting to where I wanted to talk about, where it's like we spend a lot of money on things that don't matter,
Right.
like Space Force. Like honestly, I don't give a shit about us being able to have spaceships that fly around like it's fucking Star Wars or Star Trek. It would be nice if we had healthcare for
Yeah.
everybody in the world,
I agree.
We should start there. For sure.
and
Star Wars makes
and
so
things
much
like that.
money.
And then after that, like once we can have most people survive, then we can like have spaceships. That'd be real cool. After that,
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, as cool as going to Mars would be, like putting human beings on Mars would be, and I guess, Carl Sagan would say that this is a
False dichotomy.
It's a false dichotomy because we can
False
do
dichotomy.
both. But it's like, I think we should focus on the biggest, most essential problems, at least with the vast majority of our resources,
Yeah.
and then work our way down. Like you said, everyone needs to be able to just like have healthcare. Let's find a way to cure cancer.
Yeah, and also the species that makes it off the planet to start exploring other planets, you would like them to have had a compassionate base, as in they came from a planet where they decided to give everybody free healthcare.
And there's no more war. They've
Yeah.
gotten past that. Like they're just
well,
trying
yeah,
to,
because
like,
honestly, if you don't do things like that, then imagine a world that's more or less inside of the capitalist regime going to Mars, and then now all the rich people can live on Mars while the Earth dies,
Oh, and you have to have money
And
to
then-
migrate over.
and then now the 1% gets to live on Mars.
I mean, it'd be the new
now
world.
we're going real crazy with it.
You know what the best description of this is? If you guys ever watched Robot Chicken, there was this skit where there's a scientist sitting there introducing a new robot, and like this robot will be able to perform multiple services. It's able to learn for you. It's able to adapt to your environment, and it's able to serve you in anything you need. And then you see a scientist in the audience sitting there raising his hand. And he's like, "Can you fuck it?" And he was like, "What? Can you fuck it?" And he was like, "Well, no. What?" And everyone's like, "Ah, perfect example." You come up with a beautiful idea, but everyone has to go back to primitive thoughts, and if it doesn't fulfill it, we're fucking out of here.
It's true. Like, I guarantee you, as AI becomes more and more advanced, the very first thing we're going to do with that kind of technology is make sex robots.
Have you not
We
seen
already
the
are.
sex
Yeah.
robots on the market?
Ex Machina was an
Your
example.
podcast is 1 year too late on this, my friend.
No, the second question after "Can you fuck it?" is "Can it kill somebody?" That's the most important primitive
Send it
question.
to
You'll
war.
fill it out. Yeah.
That's insane.
Okay, so we're coming up on 40 minutes. I would be okay with doing one last 20-minute segment if you guys want to. Otherwise, we can end it here. It's up to you guys.
I mean, this is really exhausting. Corey is spent right now.
I guess because we're going to see Mandler's house after this, and I still have to finish up my homework.
This podcast is brought to you by C. Mandler. C. Mandler. When you're here, your family.
I can do 20 more minutes as long as anybody else wants to.
I have flown from across the
All
state.
right, fine.
I
Let's
came
do
from
20 more
Arizona.
minutes. Just
I've
do
flown
20 more
across
minutes.
the state just so I can deny.
I'll do 20
this
more
request.
minutes.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break.
And then we'll do 20 more
And then
minutes.
we'll just do 20 minutes and then we're done. All right. So.
Last minute.
Check.
Last lap. Last stretch. Last 5.
We're back.
Unfortunately.
This is it. This is the last 20-minute stretch.
One of us is going to die by the next time we reunite to this
Are you
episode.
kidding me, man? Come on.
One of us.
You know Eddie's superstitious.
Nose
You can't
goes.
say shit like that.
Good luck in hell, bitch.
Oh my god.
Alright, guys. Talk about the last poop that scared you.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
Yes. Okay, I'll go first. I know that's an unfair question.
I can tell this is something you've been meaning to get off your chest.
More like out of my ass. Anyways, this poop was really black and it scared the crap out of me. It must have been like this big, which is normal. It's like a normal 9 to 5. But like I didn't change my diet, which made me wonder why was this one in particular so damn dark. My best guess is probably I drank something that had like a super dark color to it. But I started Googling and black means death, like across the universe. Poop, maybe not. But like just the world. It's like black is usually death,
That is
morbid.
pretty racist.
You're
It's at
fast.
least racist.
You're faster in sports. You're athletically superb. So my poop was athletic and morbid, and I was kind of worried. This happened probably about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, so it was like black. It wasn't even like dark brown. It was just black, like kind of like if you see red, right? It was blood. Corey was last time.
Where is this going?
Hollis has colon cancer.
Oh, no.
And this is how he's telling everybody.
Holy crap!
So, yeah, okay.
World premiere, guys. News. What about you? When was the last time you poop scared you?
Well, first off,
Your
it
story.
sounds like your story's not done.
That was it.
Did you go get it checked and you're like, oh yeah, it was fine. It was just a weird poop.
Oh no, even
Or-
better. I flushed it, I wiped it, I forgot.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
how I'm telling that.
Hollis might be dying. Tune in next time to find out the exciting conclusion.
I guess we should say one of us wouldn't be here.
One of us, yeah. I mean, okay, I'm gonna interrupt your question I gave to you. You realize poop tells you everything, right? Because
Yes.
did you know, as a matter of fact, when the president actually goes across the ocean, whenever he does poop, they don't allow him to flush it. They actually put it in a bag and they ship it back here to dispose of it. Because
As
you
God
can find-
intended.
You shut your mouth.
Oh, because you can find evidence of stuff in there.
Exactly, because you can find out all sorts of things
All the
about
prescription
you.
drugs he's
What
on.
you're allergic to,
Yeah,
what your
interesting.
weaknesses are. Your poop is everything. It will tell you your life.
Tonight.
I just watched this episode of there's like this show, kind of like a documentary show on Netflix called Connected. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's actually really good. And there was an episode about poo,
Mhm.
and like in London, if you go to the Thames River, like the main river in London, and you like scoop out a cup of water, just from the sewage runoff, the little bit that goes into that river, you can tell how many people are taking prescription drugs in London, what days they take more drugs than others. So like you see spikes in like Saturday and Sunday and Friday night, you see suddenly more like MDMA, ecstasy, cocaine, all these like party drugs. And Xanax and like Ambien and stuff like that is just constant all the time. But you can actually, based on the percentages in the water, just in the river, you can figure out like all of that based on like, you know, the population of London, which is crazy.
Can we take a pause for a second? What if in order for them to have found that out, they took that cup and the scientist is like,
Definitely
Sloshes
more
around.
Molly this weekend.
Sloshes it around.
So a lot of ecstasy this weekend.
His
It makes you think that sommeliers are overpaid.
Peoples get dilated.
Which, by the way, sommeliers are overpaid sounds like an album title.
That's true.
Can we get back to this? Oh, sorry.
A question we have been trying to ask all of our guests, and feel free to answer or not if you feel uncomfortable. But
To the
we
left.
like to ask people
6
kind of
inches.
like where you're at spiritually. Like, where do you think the universe came from?
Yeah, not ghosts and not demons, but the way you live your life, what guides you in your choices and how you treat people.
Yeah, like, do you believe in a higher power, or do you believe in any of that stuff?
The last time I pooped my pants must have been last year.
Oh God.
We're getting close. Is that the question? No. Do you have a better answer than I do?
Corey wants to answer.
How about you, Corey?
No, like I said, it's not about meaning. It's about like what.
So my
It's just
like
we're not going to judge you guys at all. Like, it's just interesting to hear everyone's different opinions on stuff like this.
We don't believe in.
like
demons.
I don't think about things in terms of where I came from or where I'm going. Like, if you were to tell me right now that you could prove absolutely that there was a God that created me and that there's a heaven that I will go to if I behave in just such a way, I
Sleep
wouldn't
with the right.
I wouldn't
sex.
I wouldn't change the way that I do things on a day-to-day basis any more than I would that if you could conclusively prove that this same God did not exist. And so I don't really like I'd like to consider myself like an agnostic because I'll do everything pretty much the same way either way. And actually, generally speaking, what a Christian person would consider a sin is a thing that I'm not trying to do. It's something that I will generally avoid in my life. And
It's like an
so
eternal
it's
given
more that
sometimes.
it's more like it doesn't matter one way or the other. I would live my life the exact same way, and so I don't really care. And if I wind up being wrong and being like I didn't spend a lot of time going to church,
You go to hell. Let's
and
say.
then I make it up to whatever afterlife might be happening. I don't think that any deity could then be like, well, you didn't go to church, but you did all the other stuff, so you get to go to hell now. If there's a deity, you would assume they're reasonable.
Right.
But the thing is,
And if there's not, then we'd all die anyway.
right. The thing is,
So you lose literally nothing.
it's true. That's true. Just an interesting anecdote, though. You said you consider yourself more of an agnostic. So Gnosticism has to do with knowledge, which is the word itself. Gnostic means to know. So agnostic would mean to not know. That's a claim to knowledge. But atheism and theism are claims to belief. So all it means is if you have a positive belief that there is a God or gods, then you're a theist. If you don't accept the claim that there are God or gods because you haven't seen...
Oh, well, on that
Sufficient
definition, I
evidence,
would consider
then you're
myself to be an atheist.
No.
Okay.
Nice. Welcome.
Spiritually,
Welcome, fellow atheists.
we wish you here. Cookies, cookies, cookies.
Why
Anyways,
none of us?
yeah.
We get to celebrate Atheist Christmas.
This whole thing was a trap to get you to become an atheist.
We got you to say it on a podcast. Now we're going to use this again.
Grandma, this isn't me.
No, he promised. He's an atheist now. Well, okay, so spiritually, to sit there, I have thought about what it takes to have the spirit. And then you go with the basic knowledge, right? Like, you have the soul.
Really
that
was a yes or
is
no question.
in a body, right? It doesn't mean physically, right? It means physically your body can decay, but then your spirit is something that can become something else. It's not stuck with just what you do here physically in your physical body.
So where does your spirit exist in your body then?
Many times they always say it's in your belly, your
Oh.
dick, or
Are you
your
using-
heart.
Are you using the word spirit metaphorically, or do you think it's an actual thing that is measurable?
No, based
Like,
on
if
what
you had
the
the right goggles, could you see it leave?
no, so this is what they tell you, right?
Well,
Because you
I think that's a good way to ask.
No, because
It is condescending the way you ask it, though.
Oh, Jesus.
well, because bro.
Maybe you had the right guy.
Because you just immediately pull the sci-fi reference. You're like, oh man, there's an imaginary. So
Well,
that's
so,
a mean way to put it.
No,
So,
I'm just saying if...
is there a way to measure it? Is the
it's
right
the
way
way
to
to
ask
ask
it?
the question as if...
But you're like, no, I'm going to put the sci-fi goggles on because I'm putting on the imagination.
Yeah, well, the
lenses.
question is to put it as in if you do believe that something is actually there that does leave the body once the body decays.
Yeah, is there a way to measure any of that?
will you shut your
Hold on,
fucking mouth?
hold on,
I'm in the
let's let
middle
him
of
finish.
it. Jesus.
This was Hollis'.
Why would you hurt me?
This is
'Cause I hate
Hollis'
you.
time to answer.
Yeah, you had your answer, you dummy. Anyways, this is what they tell you. You know, you can't say that you've seen your spirit, but it makes more sense in your mind because there's no other way to explain what you feel, know, why you ask questions, and why there's very little answers, right? So this is your best answers to what you get as to what the spirit is. So it's voluntold to me, right? Somebody else told me, and for me, that's my understanding as to what a spirit is. Like a vocabulary word. This is a guitar. What defines a guitar? Well, here's the definition.
So Hollis has
So-
yet to define himself as theist or atheist.
Will you shut your... Anyway,
I'm just
what I'm trying to get at...
Getting there.
I'm getting there. What I'm trying to get at when you're talking about spiritually. So, based off that definition, I sometimes think that your body is just holding your spirit based off its definition for just a moment in time where you're alive. But it doesn't mean that your spirit is here with you, and it doesn't die with you when your physical body dies, right? So that now talks about the afterlife. And that's now a whole conversation in itself. Now, here's the question. What do we think when we die? Big question, and no one has the answer to it. Here's my...
That would actually be a better question to ask.
Here's my...
It's over.
Now, spiritually,
Yeah,
here we
that's a
go.
good one.
Spiritually, the spirit correlates with what happens to you after you die, because this is my understanding of a spirit. It's something different than just physically us doing this. So when you die, my best thought and belief at this point, as sad as this is about to be, comes from Bill Burr. Bill Burr did this in a special, if you ever follow that comedian. Mm-hmm. He said in his special that he talked with his best friend and the same concept about what happens to you after you die. And the guy said, well, do you remember anything that happened before you were born? He was like, well, no. He's like, okay, so that's what happens when you die. When you die, it's the same thing before you were born. Mm-hmm. And that's scary. It's scary because you don't know what that was. You're never going to know what that was. It wasn't all black, like many people think, all darkness. It's nothing like that. Your brain stops. And when that happens, which you didn't have a brain that was developed before you were born, that's the same thing that happens when you die. And it is scary because now you exist. Boom, you're born. You're developed and you think. And now that's going to be taken away from you when we die. And you don't want to do that because you don't know what it's like. And you're scared because that's never happened to you. Maybe you want to still do stuff and you don't like the idea that once you're dead, it stops. But you don't have a brain to conceptually think about things when you die. You just die. And that's unfortunately where I think about when I think about the spirit, is that there's nothing that happens beyond when you physically pass away. You just simply stop. And when you stop, there's nothing more that happens, at least in your perspective. You know, you still have family that's sad for you. Life still continues.
It's sad for them.
Time goes on.
Yeah.
But for you, you don't have to worry about that because you don't experience it any longer.
That's why, when I think of my own death, I'm actually more worried about those who will go on missing me because it will be much harder, seeing as nothing will happen to me.
Yeah.
That's
I
actually
won't feel anything at all.
the first time I don't know if he's the one that coined that, phrase, but the first time I heard that was Alan Watts, a philosopher, who said that exact thing. Like when someone asked him or he might have even been talking about some ancient Buddhist, guru, who was asked that question, like, what is it like when you die? And the answer was, it's exactly what it was like before you were born.
Yeah.
That's exactly how you'll feel about it and how you'll experience the universe is however you felt and experienced it when Abraham Lincoln was alive. Like, as much as you cared or noticed then, that's exactly what you'll experience when you die.
It's factual.
Yeah.
Despite your beliefs and everything, you just...
And also, you can biologically go on forever because of overpopulation.
So that's a whole concept in itself. Oh my God. And that's another thing Bill Burr talks about. Jesus Christ. Now we talk about how do people die. Bill Burr got it right. We got to fill out tests, and if you didn't bring a pencil to the test, you're already out. You're eliminated.
First off, pencils are for cowards who are afraid of their own mistakes. Let me start by throwing that out there.
Look, it's number 2 pencil, okay?
No, you use a pen because you're a
accepted.
goddamn man.
You can take the SATs with a pen. You tell me that test will go through like you hoped for.
That's exactly what I did. Bet your ass I scored higher on the SAT than you did.
He didn't take the SAT. He told me when he...
That's right, I got accepted straight to college, so like...
What a dummy.
Mirror.
How about you, Eddie?
What's up? What I think happens after
Yeah.
we die,
Spiritual.
or my spiritual?
Where are you
my
at spiritually?
My
One to say.
I think the golden rule exists internally within everybody who is more or less I don't want to say normal, but who is sympathetic. But I guess I'll start with sympathy first. There's a lot of struggles depending on who you are and what opportunities were given to you. And in fact, whatever background your parents had, to where you end up living now, there's a lot that being grateful for things that happen to you have to do a lot with the way you're going to behave, especially with what you have. In which case, the other thing is culturally. In Hispanic families, family is really prioritized. And so when you have friends, and like kind of like the topic we hit where it's like really hard for me to talk about my stuff with you guys, but at the same time what's really easy to do is treat you guys like family and just make sure I'm not like unnecessarily hurting people's feelings. Not that you would do that normally, but there's a lot at stake when you have a strong relationship with people where your words are going to hurt more than a bum on the street.
Okay, so what about life after death? Like,
sorry,
where are we going with this? This was about life after death.
I was just basing it first on how do I treat people in life. And so I like to show sympathy, but life after death...
so do I get to die, but he gets to live?
I don't think...
I'm okay with that.
I also don't think anything happens. I think
I gotta die.
You're gonna have those same biological processes as any other biological life form here. I think you just want to make sure you've left everything, clear with everybody who's about to miss you. Or the whole make sure you tell people how you feel because it could be your last day on earth. So it's not so much a selfish thought with death, for me, as it is thinking about my family and who I'll leave behind if I were to pass on. But yeah, no, nothing's gonna happen. And I'm not afraid of death itself. I'm afraid of just dying early.
I just want to make sure that that's not an invitation to get naked.
No, so the fear is that
You have 3 seconds to say no.
so the fear is
No.
fear is not fulfilling life, more so than just death being death.
Yeah, no. Fulfilling life is an obvious goal. That's aside from being dead. Being dead is just knowledge we have of ourselves as a smart being who can tell the future in some cases.
You don't know that you're dead, though. You know you're going to die.
Yeah, you know you're going to
No.
die.
So what I think is so complex about life is that sometimes it may never be that you're ready, because you may have so many phases or a change of mind through experience where you're just like, wow, I just had this and now something changed about me, and therefore...
But for me, death has 2 different contexts.
Okay.
For me, there's death in old age, where you die in your bed. And then there's death where it was either a sickness, an accident, it was not, it was not the point where your body shuts down on its own. It was like getting hit by a car, or falling out of a window, or a heart attack at work because of stress.
Getting hit by like a real big
Yes,
punch.
those are the other
like
concepts of
Batman
death.
punching
And
in
so,
the face.
so for me, there's nothing wrong with like dying in old age in your own bed with your family around. There's absolutely nothing
That's
wrong
like-
with that
that's
because
the
it's
goal.
inevitable and it's the goal.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like what worries me is an early unexpected death where things aren't arranged. You haven't like set anything up for when you died, and it's a shocking just discovery for your family. That's the death I would rather avoid.
Look at how caring you are. You need to
That's-
schedule your own death so that other people
Oh,
can
it's
be
not
ready.
scheduled.
And that's what life insurance is
Even-
for. Please sponsor
No,
us
but
life insurance.
Sponsor your part by
even if you
living
die in
insurance.
even if you die in your sleep, that's gonna be unexpected. But I mean, what more else are you gonna ask for life at the end? Seriously, like you don't want to die in the fucking Titanic.
Time to pivot to Luke.
Christ.
Luke, we're about to wrap up here with your final thought of the same question we all addressed.
So for me, I guess, since the only thing we have solid evidence for, or the only thing we have, yeah, solid evidence.
Everyone's gonna die.
The only thing we have solid evidence for is that the mind is where consciousness is located. And once the mind stops living, then so does our consciousness and spirit, or whatever you want to call it, and that we cease to exist. So for me, that's something that inspires me and makes me feel really, really lucky to be one of these creatures that happen to evolve on this planet with sentience and intelligence. And
I could have been a dog.
it makes me feel, it makes every moment of my life that I'm alive
I'm a smart dog.
very special. And it makes me feel like I need to pursue all the things that I want to pursue, achieve all the things that I want to achieve, and treat everyone around me really, really well, because this is their only chance to live as well. There's not, in my opinion, there's not some super, super long afterlife that's going to last eternity where this life doesn't really matter. This is the life that matters. It's the only one we have evidence that actually exists. So that we should take every chance you can in this life to live the best life you can, to make as much peace and happiness around you as you can.
And that's why we start the orgy now.
Let's rewind a little bit. So am I understanding that in your idea of the original question of spirituality, we're going along the fact that spirituality does end, as does what we know as life?
Well, yeah, because your spirituality is what's guiding your decisions, and that means the way you treat people, what your words you're going to use with them. If you're having a particularly bad day, what kind of effort are you going to make to not sound irritable to people when they talk to you? Things like
so
that.
then a sub-question then is, what do we say spirituality could be correlated with morality? What you decide, what you've been taught, is what's right versus wrong.
I suppose so, but when you say
That's a whole other podcast.
when you say because when you say morality,
More after Dr. Pepper.
the vocabulary assumes that we're talking about like a set of existing rules, when morality is really like it's really about whoever's brain you're sitting in and whose experiences you've had. That can really affect your degree of whatever morality you're talking about.
Subjective.
So a lot of times, exactly, subjective. Morality is subjective according to what they will teach you when you grow up. Because
I agree.
as children,
Completely
children know very best that they do something, they don't know it's wrong until you condition them to tell otherwise.
Well, until they
So
can reason themselves and with development.
So morality is taught. It's never necessarily like what you felt inside. Sometimes
That's why you don't feel bad when you ruin surprises that your friends tried to set up.
Can we get back to this? Put another 20 minutes on. Cory, you and I are on a level of pissed off that this was 4 weeks in the making, and you were so selfish.
All right, with that, I think we are out of time. So thank you guys so much for being here. This was a lot of fun.
Can I get naked now?
You can get naked as soon as we stop recording. Hold your horses.
No, keep going. No, this is the first episode we're going to do.
Thank you guys for listening.
How far can I go before it's not allowed?
Don't forget to hit that subscribe.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the
Like,
comments.
subscribe. Thank you so much.